Political thuggery to a large extent has become the norm in many nations when it comes to the high-stakes game of elections. Despite the core principle of democracy, which many nations across the world aspire to achieve, the democracy is for the people and by the people sounds like a cliche, as political thuggery associated with politicians to win by all means seems to be the order of the day. One of the biggest problems in Nigeria's political scene nowadays is thuggery, a scare tactic during campaigns, elections, and even after, resulting in the bullying and scaring of people while in a bid to elect leaders of their choice. Just a few days back, the Social Democratic Party Secretariat office in one of these states was gutted by fire with allegations that it was the work of thugs intent on disrupting and intimidating the party members. One therefore wonders, when will this stop? And when will politicians look inwards and consider the devastating impact these acts on the nations have on the growth and the development of the nation? This will form the basis for the program Nigeria Today on the topic political thuggery. Welcome to the program. I'm Dennis Adigunloye. All right, joining us in the studio, we have one of our regulars in person of Esther Uzoma, who is a National Coordinator, Proactive Gender Initiative. You're very welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you very much.
All right, and of course, she is also the co-convener of the Nigeria
Civil Society Situation.
Correct. All right, political thuggery. Just tell us exactly, in your own words, what exactly is it, and what can you say are the causes of political thuggery in election period?
You see, there's no mystery, to political thuggery. It's an event, or it's a phenomenon that occurs when private citizens overpower the agencies of state. When individuals decide to execute their own agenda in a state event, when individuals become outlaws, individuals who have decided to exist and operate outside the fringes of the law. There's nothing classic about it. Let's not romanticize it. These are outlaws. All right? So when they exist, when they perform or execute whatever their plans within a political, circle, we now call them political talks. Ordinarily, they are outlaws, they are common criminals, people who hold our laws in contempt. This is just what it is. When you say sit down, they are the ones who will stand up. When you say stand in the line, they are the ones who say there is no line, or prevent people from, standing in the line. They're just the ones who say, listen, the laws we will observe and operate are the laws that we dictate. Those are the outlaws. They're the ones who are the thugs. Formally, they were in the motor parks. Formally, they were the dropouts. Yeah. But today, they are the PhD holders. They drive bulletproof cars. Today, they have metamorphosed into a critical, sector of our political process.
Right. Okay. As you say, outlaws.
They're outlaws.
Should there be a bounty on them? Anyway, let's move on. Is there the problem? Is it attributable only to nations that are democratically run, or is it a situation that cuts across board?
It cuts across board, because always you find people, who will always insist on being the law, dictating what should happen. People who form shadow governments, pseudo pressure points. In the south, in the west, wild west, for instance, there were outlaws who controlled government. Buying of and selling of vote, outlaws were engaged in the wild west. They were engaged in it. They could give cigar, exotic cigar, cognac. It could be, exotic women. These were offered for votes. Okay, so it's just people who can't break the law who break it. So it's not a peculiar experience to Nigeria, but it does seem to be more prominent where the criminal justice system is weak. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, it is an age-long problem in Nigeria and no, I dare say other West African nations with young
That's
democracies.
right.
How can political thuggery be, if not eliminated, but
Curtailed.
curtailed? Yes.
Well, one of the ways, first of all, is that the system for punishment, must be very strong. Citizens must not be left in doubt as to who will be punished when they do what. And so, therefore, the system is textbook, it's ABC. Respect for court orders. Rule of law is the finest classic panacea for the curbing of political thuggery, or indeed any form of outlaw. Now, at the level, another thing that can be done, at the level of the Nigerian civil society situation room, we engage in vigorous advocacy, citizen enlightenment, all right, and also periodic meetings with stakeholders like the police, civil defense, and citizens generally. And what do we do in these periodic engagements? We tell them to desist from these. There are penalties for it, and all that. But the weakest link is that when people are caught, in breach of our laws, be they electoral laws, ordinary laws of the land, and they go through the crucibles, they go through the grind of trials, what happens to the judgments?
Yeah.
So if judgments and court orders and judgments are not obeyed, it kind of sends mixed signals. The citizens think, well, sometimes you can do it and get away with it. Yes.
All right. All right. The program is Nigeria Today, and we are discussing political thuggery. Let's take a quick break now and get the thoughts of some Nigerians on this topic in this Vox Pop put together by Akim Dairo.
They should not mortgage their future, the youth of this country. Because what are they going to gain? Pata, they will give them 5,000. Oh yeah, go and cause havoc, go and destroy that place and that. Without provide food for them tomorrow, because it's only one-time payment. The moment they give 5,000, they give you 10,000. That's all. If you die, it's your own luck. If you don't die, it's your own luck. So what I want to pass across, it is the leadership.
Try as much as possible to give the youth a job, to engage them and make them useful to the society instead of carrying gun here and there. Because after the election and all that, they will be redundant.
The National Orientation Agency is their mandate to orientate and enlighten youth on what they should do. Also provide job, also enlighten government to how to provide job for the youth, to cater for all these people, to avoid thuggery. Religious leaders too, they should do the same thing. Religious leaders should also enlighten their members, both Muslims and Christians.
Those big men, their children are outside the country. That's the truth. And tomorrow, they don't even know them. Once they got in the power, they don't know them again. They don't even care about them. They don't know they exist. That's the truth. So the youth should be actually more sensitive and know what they are doing, know what they actually want.
The youth should try to avoid anything thuggery. They should try to maintain a path of peace. They should try to avoid anything that will bring about bloodshed.
Nigerians and the government should have like a sensitization to tell the youth, to tell them that they should not go into thuggery because it's not profitable.
All right, thanks for staying tuned. If you are just joining us, this is Nigeria Today, and we're discussing political thuggery. Our guest, Esther Uzoma, National Coordinator, Proactive Gender Initiative, and co-convener of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room, is here with us. And also, just joining us is David Akoji, Special Advisor, Special Assistant, rather, to the Director General of the National Orientation Agency. You're welcome to Nigeria Today, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let me come to you. Political thuggery. It's an age-long issue in Nigeria. Just give us your thoughts on how this menace can be curtailed in the country, especially during election season?
Political thuggery is a thing of concern, especially to the extent that it degenerates the quality of participation that we see in elections. It also affects the quality of turnout, or voter turnout. So indeed, we should be thinking of how to curtail it. I think that perhaps there are three significant areas that we can look at in our attempt to curtail the sad incidents of political thuggery. One of it is this: elective office is made so lucrative in this country that politicians have funds to set up personal militias. And these personal militias are used during elections to visit violence on political opponents.
So they even have a term, personal militias.
Yeah, to visit violence, you know, on electorates that are not favorably disposed, you know, to them. So to tackle that problem, we need to disincentivize political office in this country, especially in the light of our current economic and social realities. That's one. Two, we will not shy away from the fact that thugs are actually sponsored. Many of them have godfathers who are politicians. They're on the payroll of these godfathers who train them and arm them. So if we are going to deal holistically with the problem of thuggery, then leadership must become resolute to deal with those who sponsor them, those who train them, and those who arm them, irrespective of whichever political party they belong to. That's fundamental to solving the problem of political thuggery. Next is, we have plenty of youths who are out there. There are very few employment opportunities, and so it becomes easy to recruit these idle hands with little pittance, you know, and then they are ready to do whatever their political godfathers bid them to do. We need to create more employment opportunities for our youths. We need to get them actively engaged in productive economic endeavors so that they begin to value themselves and value their lives and become less predisposed to being hired by those who deploy political thugs during elections.
All right.
Third point.
Okay, sorry.
Third point. I told you there were three.
Yes, yes.
Third point is, because we have seen the impact of political thuggery on our elections, on the quality of people that come out to contest. You know, quality people say politics is for people who are predisposed to violence. And that's because of the activities of these thugs and those who sponsor them. And that's bad for our polity. You know, and then it also impacts on voter turnout during elections. That's also bad for our polity. Now, because we have recognized this, we must take deliberate steps to embark on consistent long-term sensitization of our youths to show them the impact and negative effects of thuggery on themselves as persons, on the society, on the quality of leadership, and on the economy.
No doubt this is what NOAH is focusing on.
Absolutely.
Especially going forward into future elections. All right, Esther, this incentivizing politics. Yes, how feasible or realistic would you say that is in Nigeria?
The truth of the matter is this: even if you tell you know, for elective offices in this country, you say it's zero payment, it is still attractive. Nigeria is one of the biggest markets in Africa. Everybody wants to befriend a politician. Even if you say, listen, if you are in political office, any elective office, you are not going to receive a dime. You are still in the place of power. Secondly, you know, this is not paradise. I'm saying that to, you know, underscore the point that there will always be outlaws. Amongst every 12, you always see a Judas. There will always be persons who will decide to live and operate outside the fringes of the law. All right, so much as it is, perhaps it will help if the offices, you know, are made less glamorous, all right? If we don't see our elective officials driving armored vehicles and rubbing it in our faces, perhaps. But even if you say in this country, if you want to be anything, you know, be politically elected, you will have zero salary. It's still it's an office of power. All right. So moving forward, you know, the talks we see in Nigeria are PhD holders. Did we not see talks deciding the outcome of elections, for instance, in Lagos State? They are powerful people. And there's a budget from them, from the political class. Like Mr. Akoji said, listen, when they are budgeting money for they budget for the talks. They're the ones who will, for instance, wear military uniforms. They're the ones in broad daylight. They're the ones who, you know, for some reason, wear police uniforms. They are the ones. We saw the charade in River State. And the army said, no, those people are not, but they were wearing. So Togri has, you know, has gone scientific.
It has evolved.
It has evolved. Okay. You know, it's not that motor. In fact, even Motopack talks now are master's degree and PhD holders. So it's not so these people didn't go to school. Oh, their work is violence. These are people who trade in violence. That is their stock in trade.
Right.
They are not being talks because they didn't find any employment. They're not looking for employment. Violence, challenge of the Nigerian state, thwarting the monopoly of violence is their stock in trade. That's what they do.
Okay. All right. Let me bring back Mr. David. How has this cancer, if you like, impacted on the emergence of decent and you know, credible politicians?
You see, that is the cause for worry. In most states, you find that thugs play a great role.
Oh yes.
In who emerges from the point of primary elections.
That's correct.
You understand?
That's
it
right.
is thugs that you see on television
who
go
goodness.
and disrupt primary elections.
That's right.
Kick away the ballot boxes.
That's correct.
Take them and throw away and burn some and all of that.
In a celebrated manner.
Yes. Now, the preponderance of thugs are not necessarily PhD holders. If you have a reputation, you want to protect that reputation. If you go around the country, the 37 states during elections, the preponderance of people you see performing thuggery are not necessarily the privileged, either educationally. Yes, the elites sponsor them.
I beg to differ.
You understand?
I know two thugs who are PhD holders. I know two who are PhD holders.
But two.
I'm sure they're watching us now and laughing. I know at least two. I know at least two.
Two out of how many, my dear?
At least the ones I know, just me. Two.
Now, you made your point.
The point that we must make here, you understand, is that there isn't a preponderance of PhD holders who are thugs. That is not to say that there are none.
Yeah.
If we want to address the problem of thuggery fundamentally, we must go to the roots. Okay. The roots, I tell you, are the sponsors, those who arm, train, and deploy personal militias. That's the root. Then we must go to those who are susceptible, you know, on a large scale, to be recruited by these ones who train, arm, and deploy. That's how to solve this problem.
Okay.
Yes, there are a sprinkle of, you know, enlightened people who participate in this challenge of thuggery. But there isn't a preponderance. How many PhD holders do we have in this country, for crying out loud? You know, so when you see a huge crowd of thugs, as you see in many states of the Federation during the elections, it is not likely that 60% of that are PhD holders. So there is a challenge of livelihood, of people not finding gainful employment. If you do, because thuggery poses a threat even to the life of the thug. Thugs have killed thugs during elections and during such violences. Thugs have been apprehended by security agencies. Some of them have sustained severe injuries. We have seen in this country on television, you know, and in other evidential areas. So we must begin to craft creative ways of tackling this youth bulge that is characterized by idleness.
All right, Esther, on a legal perspective, we talked earlier about the legal ramifications. It's not that there is not enough laws, but the enforcement of these laws are maybe a little tightening up.
That's right.
Maybe this would be another avenue to pursue to check this issue.
You see, if we must strengthen our criminal justice system, and one of the ways of strengthening it is that we must always ensure that first and foremost, judgments, our court orders are obeyed, and they are seen to be obeyed, particularly by the state. In particular, by the state. Now, when the judgments, when the prophecies of courts are held in awe, let me tell you, people will not tell you, go and bring your court order and come and meet me here. Go to any court you like, I'm waiting for you. It's because of the contempt. And the main factor that brings about this contemptuous attitude to the prophecies of the court is the attitude of the state. It's the attitude of the state. So when the state begins to obey judgments of court, when the judgments of court, we hold it in awe again. When the prophecies are our guidance, let me tell you, it will send the signal to every citizen, wherever you are, that you are not above the law. It is that sense that, there are people who are above the law. That is what the thought will tell you, go and come, I'm waiting for you here. They burned down, during the last election, INEC office was burnt down. Their card readers were destroyed. Who was brought to book? So, and the state must be seen to be stronger and and firmer than whatever is trying to jeopardize the authority. That thing that attacks the authority of the state, we must remove it. That is one of the ways, yes.
All right, so David, let's get your perspective briefly on this, the legal aspect.
Well, I agree with her to a large extent that our law enforcement agencies need to do far more than they are doing now. We have seen too many people who perpetrated violence get away with it unscathed and come back during another election season to perpetrate the same violence on innocent citizens. So our law enforcement agencies and our courts need to do far more. I understand what the hindrance is. The hindrance lies in the caliber of people who sponsor these thugs. You understand?
That seems to be where the core
That's
issue
where the
is.
problem is.
Yep.
So if we have leadership resolute on tackling this thing from that level of the caliber of persons who sponsor some of these thugs, then we would begin to see some semblance of reduction in the incidence of thuggery.
All right, we certainly hope so. Fortunately, our time is up. I would love to have continued this discussion, but this is where we conclude today's edition of Nigeria Today. We say thank you to our guests, Esther Uzoma, National Coordinator, Proactive Gender Initiative and co-convener, Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Thanks for once again being on Nigeria Today.
My pleasure.
And also thanks to David Akoji, Special Assistant to the Director General of the National Orientation Agency. Thank you also for your insight on this topic today.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. And to our esteemed viewer, you can watch this and any other edition online at our YouTube address, youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Thanks for watching. A fresh episode will come your way tomorrow at 7:30 in the evening. I am Dennis Adimluye. Thanks for watching again.